Superman 3. Oh, shit. That's right, we've reached that point of the franchise. Superman 3, the follow-up to Superman 2, and the moment when the entire franchise looked itself in the mirror and said, no, we could always get worse instead of getting better. Let's just get worse. And so this, in my opinion, was the beginning of the end. This was basically the Batman Forever of the franchise, except, you know, obviously this came before Batman Forever, so it was like the Superman Forever of the franchise. The first 10 minutes of this movie told me exactly what kind of movie I was in for. And believe it or not, I saw this as a kid and I was kind of like, well, whatever, fine, it's okay. And then I rewatched it for this review and holy shit, this movie is a little bit different than I remember as a kid. First 7 minutes, it's just look at this shit, and this is exactly what the movie is like. You think you know what campy is? You think you know what corny is? You think you know what cheeseball humor is? Oh, you have no fucking idea until you have seen this movie. The first two Superman films, in my opinion, yes, they did have some camp to them. They did have a little bit of cheese here and there, but overall, I would say that the central tone of those movies was a little bit more serious. It wasn't, you know, like ultra serious or anything like that, but you could tell that they wanted to take the character a little bit serious, and the character did have to deal with some serious situations while in those films. In this movie, they decided to turn it into a live-action cartoon, which is fine, except if I wanted to watch cartoons, I'd, you know, watch a cartoon. What is Superman 3? Well, Superman 3 is basically following two different storylines. It's following the storyline of Richard Pryor, who in this movie plays a computer programmer. And what Richard Pryor is in this movie is the world's smartest idiot. You can tell that he's smart. You can tell that he knows what he's doing when it comes to this computer shit. And you can tell because people in the movie tried to take advantage of him because he's smart. But at the same time, the way he's portrayed in this movie, he's portrayed as an idiot. He's very bumbling, he's very awkward, he's very look at me kind of stuff. He's very clumsy. There's a lot of slapstick humor involved with his character. While that's going on, you've got another story with Clark Kent. Clark Kent, aka Superman, is trying to have a good story, and he decides to go off to Smallville because it's high school reunion time, and he wants to write about high school reunion and how things done changed for Clark Kent since he left Smallville. We also got Margot Kidder, aka Lois Lane, in the movie for her little $5 cameo. He basically chunks up the deuces and just leaves after like 3 minutes. They make up some excuse in the movie. She has to go on vacation or some bullshit. Officially, it's because they wanted to shove Lois Lane aside so they could have a really forced, awkward romance between Lana Lane and Clark. But, unofficially, it's because they wanted to shove Lois Lane aside and create an awkward, forced romance between Clark Kent and Lana Lane. After an actress plays such a huge role in the first two films, and then in this film she comes out and she's in the movie for 3 minutes, you can tell that there's something else going on behind the scenes. I'm just going to leave it at that. When Clark Kent goes back to Smallville, he starts hooking up with Lana Lane. You know, Lana Lane from high school, you know, and Lana Lane and him start a romance. Now, there is one aspect of this romance that's actually pretty good, because Lois Lane, when she fell in love with Superman, she fell in love with Superman first and then Clark Kent afterward. Like, she fell in love with the mystique, the superhero of Superman. And here's Lana, and Lana is just a regular chick from Smallville who fell in love with Clark. Like, she likes Clark the man. And I found that kind of interesting for a while. Then after like 20, 30 minutes of them having this really awkward, shitty love dialogue and them going on picnics and her talking about how much she needs a man in her life, it just kind of, it started to feel like filler. And my biggest problem with this movie is that so much of it feels like filler. It feels like pointless filler that's only there to extend the movie's runtime, or it's dumb slapstick only meant to amuse you. And there's no actual point or focus of the story. It just kind of does its own thing. Not to mention, how thirsty is Lana Lang? Oh my god, somebody get this chick a ginger ale. She is dying of thirst in this movie. Just dying of thirst. Every other sentence out of her mouth in this movie is, oh, well, my son needs a good, strong man in his life. He doesn't have a man around to help me with stuff. There's not much around here in terms of men. Hey, did you want to hear about what happened with my ex-boyfriend? Yeah, my ex-man. Yeah, you're a good man, Clark. It's really good. You know, I wish this stuff had worked out between us. You know, I need another man in my life. I mean, good Lord, shit, she's dying of somebody help her. Help her, she's dying in the desert. Somebody help her. Get this woman a drink of water. This chick chick is thirsty as fuck in this movie. Richard Pryor gets mixed up with this one guy who, I swear to God, it is like the most basic 99-cent version wannabe Lex Luthor that you've ever seen in your life. Firstly, it's actually kind of embarrassing how much they tried to take characters from this movie and turn it into Lex Luthor and his cohorts from the previous film. You even got the hot woman with the big tits. I mean, she's pretty much like Miss Tessmacher! She's pretty much Miss Tessmacher 2.0. You even got Richard Pryor in this movie, who is used by, you know, the wannabe Lex. He kind of feels like Otis. Or you could just take his evil sister who is helping him out with his evil schemes in this movie, and you could basically make her into a smarter version of Otis. It's sad how much they tried to make these characters into characters that we've already seen before. So this rich tycoon who owns the computer company that Richard Pryor works for, his big plan, now listen to this plan because this is the important part of the plot. His big plan is he wants to take a satellite that is orbiting a country and monitoring the weather of that country, and he wants to reprogram the satellite so that it creates bad weather instead of watching it. And this will somehow drive up the coffee price of stuff, and then he'll get richer or something. I'll be honest, it was around this point in the movie that I just gave up on the story making any semblance of sense. I just gave up. I just stopped trying. I said, you know what? I'm not here to make sense of it. I'm here to laugh at the dumb shit. There's this really stupid moment where Richard Pryor is like hacking into like the traffic lights at an intersection or something. Okay, there are people walking across a crosswalk. You and I, we're regular people. We walk across crosswalks all the time. So when he manipulates the lights of this intersection and then people are walking across the crosswalks and then the dumb cars think that the light is green, but they for some reason can't see the people walking right in front of them, they decide to go, and then obviously they stop because they see people right in front of them. But that's not the stupid part. The stupid part is that while all this chaos is going on, the little people in the traffic window, like, you know, in the light, there's like a red person and there's like a green person. It changes when it says go and it changes when it says stop. You guys remember the little people, the little animated people? They basically start having a fight. I shit you not. The red person gets up into the green box and starts fighting the person. What the I shot fucking dope. Oh my god. Oh my god, this movie just made me lose brain cells to the point that I created my own language. I think I'm gonna call that language the no-brain slang. Yeah, anytime I use no-brain slang from here on out in a review, it's because the movie is dumb as shit. If there is one redeeming quality to this film, it is Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve is great, because he's always great as Superman. He's doing the best he can. But honestly, the best part of the movie, the part of the movie where things get the most interesting, when Superman gets manipulated by this piece of kryptonite to turn into a super douche for half the movie. Yeah, they try to kill Superman, you know, the wannabe Lex Luthor, tries to get kryptonite, and how he gets kryptonite is hilarious. I'm not even going to talk about that shit. They try to get kryptonite, and then they tried to get it to kill Superman, but instead of it killing Superman, it turns him into evil Superman. And so he's basically, like I said, a super douche for half the movie. Part of the movie was actually pretty interesting, because you get to see Christopher Reeve playing a different side of Superman. Seeing him bring a little bit more nuance, the look on his face at times. I mean, the dude had some really hateful, angry expressions on his face. I'm like, holy shit, I did not even think Christopher Reeve could look like this. Oh my god, good job, Christopher Reeve. It's making me uncomfortable. Good job. This also leads to one of the most iconic scenes in Superman film history, and that is when you got the good Clark Kent fighting the evil Superman in the junkyard. As Clark Kent says during the fight, I can take it as good as I can dish it, and that's true, because he gets his ass kicked by evil Superman a lot during this fight. This movie is filled with so many hilariously awful moments. Again, the slapstick, they go for it overboard. They try to have everybody fall down or something accidentally happen to somebody. It's almost like the Three Stooges directed this movie. This was the beginning, man. This was the beginning of the end. This was the descent into madness. And they actually did it. They actually pulled it off. I don't think this movie is offensively bad, but that's not necessarily for a lack of trying. It's entertaining. It's kind of stupid. You can watch it and laugh at the stupid shit in the movie. And Christopher Reeve and evil Superman. That's the best part of the movie. So you can watch that and be entertained by all of it. I'll say that Superman 3 is not the worst movie in the world, but it's gonna get the Smallville rating for guilty pleasure. Stay tuned, I'll have a review for Superman Returns. That's the next one up in my series, the 2006 film starring Brandon Routh and directed by Bryan Singer. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace!